This is just the beginning of the many skills, the many secrets, the many traditions of knowledge from the Vedic culture of India that are going to go out into the world to do good for it, not to colonize it. India will not colonize the world. India will have a renaissance that the world falls in love with, that the world is enchanted by, that the world benefits by. This is just the beginning of the many skills, the many secrets, the many traditions of knowledge from the Vedic culture of India that are going to go out into the world to do good for it, not to colonize it. India will not colonize the world. India will have a renaissance that the world falls in love with, that the world is enchanted by, that the world benefits by. So to put it very simply, two things have been neglected. The first is us. And the Vedic civilization sees us as immortal beings, full of possibility. The Vedic civilization of India did none of those things. It's recovering from colonization. It's like someone who's been badly treated and got ill for a while. The culture is reviving. Narendra Modi is the first Hindu ruler of India in 1,000 years. And the knowledge of India is just filtering out into the world. Namaste. Welcome to Vedic Vidya. My name is Jeffrey Armstrong, Kavindra Rishi. Vedic Vidya is available exclusively on Citti Media English channel on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. IST. Our topic tonight is how the arts and sciences of India are continuing to transform the world, or why the Vedic Sanskrit culture is creating a global renaissance. We are no longer living in the world that created the world we're currently living in. There was a time in history when writing books was very, very difficult, very cumbersome. In fact, there was a time when a Bible, a Christian Bible, required the death of 300 sheep in order to make enough sheepskin, vellum, so that the message could be written on the sheepskins. Somewhat ironic when Jesus is called the Lamb of God and 300 sheep have to give up their lives and skin every time a Bible was turned out. So books and libraries were a great rarity at previous times in history when we did not have the printing press. But things have changed. As a matter of fact, now technology is threatening to even make books obsolete. The next generation may not be used to reading, whereas my generation was a generation of book readers. If you were inclined to find knowledge, you would look for the most books. Where were the books containing the secrets that you were looking for, the secrets of life? And this is the great secret of the Vedic civilization of India, that they are the people of a library. And the most perfect language in existence on our planet is Sanskrit. There's no argument on that point. There is no second language which is almost as perfect as Sanskrit. And it isn't chauvinism to say Sanskrit is perfect. It's not because I'm a practitioner of the knowledge in the Sanskrit. It's because I'm a linguist, and all linguists agree that Sanskrit is the most perfect language. It's a programming language, if you will, but it can be spoken, sung, translated basically, but not as precisely because it's been constructed so precisely. Well, this is the information age, isn't it? Isn't that what's happened? So you see, with no disrespect to them, the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam more or less call themselves the people of a book. Of course, since the printing press, many people have given opinions and written books on the topics inside these traditions. But you see, it's a very important thing to understand. If I say to you, why would a religion which says it's a representative of the loving supreme being, why would it burn libraries? Why did Islam and Christianity do such horrific things in the name of religion? Well, I'm sure even we who are historians only know part of this. But what we know for sure is that they were trying to control and eventually dominate, especially Christianity and Islam. Judaism didn't get into this mood in the last few thousand years, not at all. But Islam and Christianity, I think you almost have to say there's friendly Christianity and Islam. And I have many friends from both who are user-friendly. They would never think to be violent in the name of Yahweh or Allah or Jesus or Muhammad. And oh, what a lovely world it would be if no violence was being done in the name of religion. Then we could at least separate those who are being violent from those who are proposing to be sacred. This is one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that Sanskrit and the Vedic library is an untapped resource. Right now, we're just at the beginning of bringing all of the library of Vedic knowledge, which means scientific subjects of all descriptions, mathematics, astronomy, history in ways that we can't even imagine it because the Sanskrit could keep a historical record. In fact, the word history in English came from the word itihasa. You could hear it, can't you? History, itihasa, Sanskrit word itihasa. Doesn't just mean history as we think of it. It means as it was at a certain time in the past. And the most famous of the historical books of the Vedic civilization are the Ramayana and Mahabharata, both of which were spoken, written, encoded many thousands of years ago, between 8,000 and 12,000 years ago. Now, this is a totally unacceptable amount of time to Western civilization for history. The Abrahamic religions believed that time, the planet, history, began 5,000 or so years ago. That's at least what their sacred texts say. Now, my point in this is, it's difficult to have another Renaissance that includes Christianity or Islam because, honestly speaking, they don't have anything left to say. And that's because they did not breed a culture. Why is that? What is a culture? Enduring across time in the history of we humans. Think about it. It's a continuity of study, a continuity of thought, of poetry, of music, of culture across many, 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 many thousands of years. It's a continuation of projects that are in process, of humans learning, reviving their learning, learning new things. This entire scientific revolution that we have experienced in the last 100 years is entirely from India. This is an unknown fact, but it's from the Vedic knowledge. It's from the mathematics, the astronomy. It's from the complexity of the Sanskrit and the many subjects. For example, binary mathematics, the Boolean mathematics that created the and, or, and not gates of technology that make programming a computer a possibility, that made the circuits of the computer a possibility, right out of the Rig Veda. All of this knowledge is a part of a renaissance coming from India. But you see, that renaissance was not voluntary. It was colonized. But you can see, if you look around the planet, the colonial era is pretty much finished. Because now everyone has weapons pointed at each other. It's not going to be very fruitful if you go and try to invade someone, because they have nuclear weapons pointing at you. We have a kind of a standoff, which is either go ahead, destroy yourselves, or have a new culture. So look around you right now. Where is the new culture coming from? Which culture? China? I don't think so. Europe? Germany? France? Russia? New culture that's sweeping the world and everyone is practicing? Doesn't look like it to me. I haven't heard anything. Some secret Russian book that everyone's got to read? Nobody told me about it. I've been pretty well educated. 10 years or so of university. So why is that? Why is there no renaissance coming from these different places? Well, it's because they don't have much of a library. And their library was dominated by a library-hating religion, Christianity. So the only culture with an unexplored library, and what is the tip of that iceberg? Yoga. How many yogis throughout the world right now? Oh, last count, 400 or 500 million. Are you kidding? What other civilization on our planet has started a movement of people doing a profound practice that has to do with defining who they are, their state of well-being, how they embody, how they live, how they raise their children? What culture has been sweeping the world recently? Well, the only ones I know of are Islam and Christianity, who are more and more involved in coercion, in violence. Just one small story. This is a standard missionary trick from Christian missionaries over the last 100 years in India, especially the last 50. They would go to a poor area and they would set up a place to dispense medicine, antibiotics and things like that. But first they would say, all right, all you sick people, come here and we'll give you some medicine. They would give them a placebo, nothing, no medicine in it, just a pill. They'd come back in 3 days, still sick. And they'd say, oh, wait, we forgot to offer it to Jesus. Let's offer the medicine to Jesus this time. And they'd offer it to Jesus. Now they'd give them the antibiotic. People would come back and say, hallelujah, praise Jesus, the Christians would say. Is this culture? And I don't even need to talk about the violence that we see in Islam. I don't know, I can't speak for Allah, for their version of the Supreme Being, but I cannot think he's happy at the horror show that we see coming from certain departments of Islam. And I'm careful to say, true Christians don't do these things. True Muslims don't do these things. But there's no renaissance coming from any of those directions. Coercion, control, force, threats, or fear. What are they afraid of? Well, let me give you the secret. The secret is that they only believe in one lifetime. What is the context of the culture of India? That we are all immortal beings on a journey here to this amazing planet. And all of us came here willingly. All of us are immortal beings from somewhere else. All of us have taken birth in different places, but we actually all are pretty much the same in essence. We're individuals, but pretty much the same in essence. And this is what namaste means. When you hear someone from India say namaste, they're pointing to the true you, not your body, not your skin color, not your civilization, not your language, none of those things. They're pointing to you, the consciousness. So to put it very simply, two things have been neglected. The first is us. And the Vedic civilization sees us as immortal beings, full of possibility. Many, many more lifetimes to go. Not as a punishment, as an opportunity. If I said to you, instead of living 100 years, you could stay young and live 1,000, would you be okay with that? You're youthful, strong, healthy, in a state of well-being, but you get 1,000 years instead of 100. Wow, what a birth that would be. The Vedic civilization has texts on how to live a healthy life by eating the right foods, herbs, substances. It has yoga, which shows us how to inhabit a body, how to breathe correctly and go to the right states of well-being. That's sweeping the world. Why? Because the one lifetime religions, Islam and Christianity and Judaism, all of them, do not have a culture that pertains to seeing us as having many lifetimes, of a long journey, of a big picture, of a universal way of seeing each other. They either grew impatient, as Judaism did, or they became violent, as branches of Christianity and Islam did. The Vedic civilization of India did none of those things. It's recovering from colonization. It's like someone who's been badly treated and got ill for a while. The culture is reviving. Narendra Modi is the first Hindu ruler of India in 1,000 years. And the knowledge of India is just filtering out into the world. What do you think the chances are of media going away, of computers, and our ability now to see things around the world? It's going to get greater, don't you think? And hopefully less violent. Hopefully through it, we'll start to show respect to one another. Hopefully we'll decide that nuclear weapons are not a great way to end this story. But I can tell you for sure what will happen next, because it's already happening. And I, and people like me, are the evidence. Educated in Western civilization, by my 30s, I'd run out of books. There was nothing new in any of them. And then I encountered the Vedic library, actually in my 20s. And if you haven't, I just would say to you, listen, these are some books you should read. They're in translation. I've just recently translated the Bhagavad Gita. It's called The Bhagavad Gita Comes Alive, because I've cleared up the language, made the English easier to read. But this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of the many skills, the many secrets, the many traditions of knowledge from the Vedic culture of India that are going to go out into the world to do good for it, not to colonize it. India will not colonize the world. India will have a renaissance that the world falls in love with, that the world is enchanted by, that the world benefits by, that everyone is improved by. It's called self-actualization. It's called finding the true secrets of living on the planet in such a way that we're sustainable, that the future is there for everyone. We're not doing these things yet. We're still in the remnants of the violent past of colonization and of the many battles between religions. We don't need that anymore. There is nothing to fight about. If you really think about it, just calm down. All of these leaders trying to dominate the world, this is so passé. And the Vedic Library of India said exactly that. It said, don't go out in the world and colonize. And this is why you haven't heard of India going out in the world and conquering. They went out in the world and spoke. All along the Silk Road, all the so-called religions, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, all of them, all the traditions were influenced by Sanskrit. All the European languages have Sanskrit behind them. You haven't been told these things, but you're this far from knowing. People like myself, I've spent the last 50 years learning and practicing and benefiting from this. And I can tell you, I just got a clean bill of health from my physician at 75. Perfect score on my blood test. I could tell you why. I've been doing yoga for 50 years. I've been in the Vedic Renaissance for 50 years. I've been eating well, using herbs, living well, thinking well. I've been holding inside of me beautiful thoughts, wishes, seeing all living entities as my friend, no matter how they behave. And this, my friends, is the Vedic Renaissance. Its tendrils are reaching out in a friendly way around the world. You will not be colonized. You will be enriched. You will be benefited. You will find yourself more joyful. You'll see the long view of life. So, welcome to the Renaissance of Vedic Vidya. Vedic Vidya means shining the light of truth. Tune in to Vedic Vidya on the Citti Media English channel on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. IST. My name is Kavindra Rishi, Jeffrey Armstrong. See you next time, and have a Namaste day.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.